Hello, guys, and welcome back to the live stream. I hope we're all doing well, and thank you for tuning in to another day of the Ultimate University Guide live stream Q&A videos. Today, we're going to be speaking about what life is like as an ethnic minority at Oxford. This is something that I don't think is talked about enough on the internet, and today I'm going to be joined by a very, very special guest, who will just kind of introduce herself and explain who she is, how's your experience been going to Oxford, and kind of talk about your YouTube channel. A little small plug there. Go for it, Neetu.
Okay, cool. Hi guys, my name is Neetu and I'm an incoming third year English student at Pembroke College, Oxford. I'm from East London, and I'm really, really excited to be doing this. Fran is someone that I absolutely admire and adore, so I'm really, really grateful to have this platform.
Oh, you're so cute. It's making me blush already.
You're
And
so
yeah,
cute.
I absolutely admire you too. And I actually found out about Neetu before I applied. Before I actually got into Oxford, I watched a couple of your videos and your first year review, and I was just like, "This girl is so jokes." Like, and you made me excited to go to Oxford because I was like, "Wait, there's actual normal people at Oxford." And I guess this is something we can explore later on in the live about like the preconceptions we had before going to Oxford and Cambridge. But I felt it was so nice to see people like you, people like Vika TV, Ibs Mo, of course, on the YouTube scene, showing that it is possible for people of colour, people who come from our backgrounds to actually get into institutions such as Oxford and Cambridge. So I guess to start off with, we can just kind of talk about our journey getting into to university to start off with, not even Oxford and Cambridge. Talk about your school experience. Did you feel supported by staff members? Was Oxford and Cambridge always on the table?
So the first time I realized I could consider somewhere like Oxford was, I think, in year 12. So I got my GCSE results and I didn't do like the best in my year group, but I had some good results. So I got 8 A stars and 3 A's. But I remember that there were kids that got like 11 A stars, 12 A stars. And I was like, mad, I'm not that smart. Like, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. So I thought those were the types of kids that would go to somewhere like Oxford. So already I had a sense of imposter syndrome. And we have to really, really realize that, right? That you have imposter syndrome without even entering the space. It's way before you enter a space like Oxford University that you feel like you don't belong or feel like you shouldn't consider it. So yeah, I remember in year 12, I realized that actually no, those were some good results. And not only that, but I actually graft and I like learning, and I try my hardest when it comes to school, when it comes to academics. And not only that, I'm a proactive person. I do all the kind of extracurricular stuff in school and all of that. And I was like, you know what, I should do this. So then I started getting involved with a lot of like university kind of level projects like K Plus, which is a scheme at King's College London. And then there's another scheme that I did with Oxford University. So I was actually a student at Pembroke College for a week, and I was doing a summer school. So I did a few open days, and then I did the summer school. I did the summer school at Pembroke, and I was like, mad,
Was this
maybe
the
this could be
unique
the
summer
place for
school?
me.
Was this the unique one?
Sorry, Frank, can you repeat that?
Was this the unique?
This wasn't unique.
Okay.
This wasn't unique. So it was called a Pembroke Humanities Access Summer School. So Pembroke College specifically run it every year. If people want, I can share details with them, etc. after this live ends. But yeah, it really changed my perception. And not only that, so we had to like go to lectures, write an essay, then present like a tutorial, like talk to a tutor about the essay that we wrote. And like my essay was good. And like the tutor was actually like, no, this is actually decent stuff. Like you actually have a grasp of this poetry from like the 16th century, 17th century. And I was like, what? I was like, how? And then so for the first time, I basically realized that I could belong at somewhere like Oxford. I realized that this is the place for me and I can do it.
I absolutely love that. And I guess I had a similar experience in the sense that what really showed me that Oxford and Cambridge was something that I could access was going to summer schools, because you're surrounded by people who came from similar backgrounds to you. The ambassadors who are current students are people who, again, are from similar backgrounds to you. So there's a certain power in seeing people who represent you in those spaces. And yeah, I guess we can start by answering any questions, unless you want to got anything to add or You good to
Yeah,
go?
let's start. Let's start.
There's loads that are
Yeah.
flooding in. Guys, we love it. Keep sending in your questions and we'll try our best to answer every single one out. And before we start, make sure you like this live stream. So many of you view the live stream, but don't like it. So I guess so me and Neetu will know that you guys like this sort of thing and we'll continue to make them in the future. So yes, without further ado, the first one is a really, really important one. And I think this is for me. AJ Malfoy asks, as a black girl, how do you look after your hair? Now, I laugh at this one because my first
Very, very
experience
important.
was shambolic. And Neeti is probably aware of a couple of friends who honestly struggled at Oxford because it's just not the one when it comes to actually getting, your hair done. Like, I tend to wear braids, which is this style of hair, and they do take a long time to do, and people need to have been trained in doing them, and there's just
Of
not those people
course.
in Oxford. However, a couple of my friends were actually kind of braiding people's hairs, but because it was kind of part of their business, something that they did to kind of generate money to support them, it was quite expensive at times. So me personally, I did not look after my hair. It was just one of those things I had to wait until I returned home after term
Oh,
ended to get my hair done.
oh my gosh.
But I must say,
Wow.
it really helps that Oxford terms are quite short because it means that, 2 months passes, you spend 6 weeks at home, you return back, 2 months, you can bang it out, you return back. But one thing I can recommend is before you come to Oxford, definitely learn how to like manage your own hair because that's not something I did enough. I was always relying on my mom. I sound like such a child to do my braids. But I've definitely became more independent as a result of being at Oxford.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Next question for both of us, sent in by private account, asks, "What's diversity like, and what colleges are we both at?"
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm at Pembroke College. It depends on in terms of racial diversity, it's a very white place. It's a very, very white place. Um, there are two black people in my entire year group. So that's a cohort of about 100, I would say. Um, in terms of Asians, well, it depends. If you're talking about international Asian students, there's a lot. There's a lot. And I think in some ways you might feel represented by them. I personally would say that I don't think it's as simple as that. I would say, being an international South Asian, international East Asian is very different to, the British Asian lifestyle that we have. We're very, very different. So in terms of Asian representation, on a surface level, it seems like, oh, sorry,
No worries.
I'm not sure what just happened there.
Oh no, I think you're back now.
Um,
You're back now.
yeah, so on a surface level, I would say that it seems like um, it definitely seems like there's a lot more kind of Asian representation, but I think there's a little bit more intricacies to it in terms of kind of people who are like British Asian. I would say there's about like at least South Asian. I'd say there's like 5 or 6 of us maybe at Pembroke out of again a cohort of 100. Then if we think about people who are working class or from disadvantaged backgrounds in the north, there are quite a few from that background in Pembroke. Again, not enough. If we think about sexuality, again, minorities. So I think it depends on what we're saying. But yeah, in terms of women of color, there's not a lot. There's not a lot.
Yeah, same sort of scene at Brasenose College. I didn't realize that certain, although like universally diversity is not that great, and you can see that through the statistics. I didn't realize that there were small kind of nuances and differences between the colleges themselves. I just applied to Brasenose because I went to summer school there and I had a pretty good time. And not gonna lie, when I look back
Yeah.
at my first year, I did have a good time and I made friends, regardless of kind of the lack of diversity. But I guess it's important to like talk about how the reason why diversity is such an important thing, and the reason why, although like it may seem as though diversity exists, it actually doesn't, is because essentially there's a massive gap between the number of, say, South Asians at Oxford, the number of black students, black working class students at Oxford, in comparison to the number of black working class students in the whole population of the UK. And essentially, what the whole purpose of initiatives such as Access and Outreach, summer schools, um, groups that go out to schools is so that we can raise that number, so that that they match. Because not gonna lie, Nita, you can talk about this later. The fact that like there was such a lack of diversity in my college was a massive culture shock, and it took me that much longer to adjust and to almost fit into life. And you were
100%.
speaking about kind of imposter syndrome. Not only on an academic front was I feeling like I didn't deserve to be there, but the fact that there weren't that many people looking like me just kind of reinforced that, okay, Fran, you're kind of like the odd one out kind of thing. So yeah, how was your experience with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm in third year now. I should be a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more accepting of Oxford as a place, but I'm not. I'm not, okay? I'm vexed. I'm
And I'm not.
vexed. The reason why is because I don't know, I think for me it's about, I think when you start off at a new place that's alien to you, you already feel like an imposter because it's a new place, right? You already feel like an alien. But then to have nobody look like you in any of the more senior positions in college, like the only Punjabi, or like that's the part of India we're from Punjab, the only Punjabi women in college, the only Indian women who came from a similar socio-economic background to me were the scouts, or the cleaners, the women who, or men who clean our rooms. So just seeing that, no, there's a huge difference between knowing the statistics. There's a huge difference between knowing that as a Londoner, for example, I live in a bubble, and it's very, very different to how diversity looks in the rest of the UK. But there's a difference between knowing that and seeing it and feeling it. They're three very isolated and different experiences. And I think in Michaelmas term of first year, when you see it, you're like, oh man, this is a bit wow. But then you feel it, and then when you feel it, you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to cope here, and you have that imposter syndrome. I can say that it never goes, but I think the one thing I would say is that you adjust and you accept. You accept your difference and you find ways to celebrate it. So I know some ways you do it, Fran, is obviously through the Christian Union or through ACS. Some ways I do it is through the Sikh Society or through India Society, through being president of the South Asian Arts Society. So we kind of find ways to
Hey,
adjust and find ways to find people who we identify with.
exactly, exactly. So well said. I feel as though the fact that there's such kind of like such a low diversity means that people seek almost a home away from home, and that comes in the form of
Yeah,
communities such as societies. You spoke about the South
yeah,
Asian Arts Society. For me, ACS has been kind of my home away from home, and I'm so happy kind of people have came together to create societies like this. And I was actually having an interesting conversation with a couple of my friends from other universities who are part of their ACS, and they were speaking about how like their ACS don't really take it as seriously. Their events aren't as regular as those at Oxford. And when I explained to them how seriously it was taken at Oxford and how there are so many people, how regular the events are, and how people like literally go to every single event, they were surprised. And it made me realize that the fact that, there's so little ethnic minority or minority groups at Oxford means that we rely so much on these societies, so naturally they're taken more seriously, which is such a nice feeling. I don't know if you can
yeah.
explore that as the president. I just had to gas there a little bit. President of the South Asian Art Society, how was
I
your
think I
experience on the kind of executive organizing side of things?
I would say that. So I mean, obviously you're a medic, so I don't even want to compare myself to you. You lot get so much more work, but English students, we get around 1 to 2 essays a week. Those 1 to 2 essays can range from 1,500 words to 3,000 words. So we're writing about 4,500 words a week.
That's a lot. That's
Sometimes
a lot.
it is a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot. We're reading a lot of books a week, and then to organize a society, to manage people, to put on events, to carry out logistics, um, to market your event. People are stressed. People are busy in Oxford. Like they don't want to come. People, they're not convinced unless you can put on a good show.
Mm.
And I think ACS is a society that we can really, really learn from because they know how to do their stuff. Like you guys know, like the committee they know how to put on events and make people come. So I think there's a sense of kind of, yeah, people do want to come. They want that home away from home. But at the same time, you need to know how to do it too. And you need to know how to do it well. And with the Oxford workload, it can be really, really difficult at times on the kind of managing position. It is hard, but one thing I would say to any freshers watching or any prospective students is that it's just so much fun and it's so rewarding. Like my presidency is coming towards an end, but this 1 year of being a president is one of the fondest memories I'll have at Oxford.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I wish I attended some of the events. I remember signing up to the society at Freshers Fair. Like you remember me there. I signed up to it.
I
Um,
remember.
and then that was when I got your name wrong because I was just like, yeah, your name
Yeah,
is, and then you're like, no, it's not. No. But I remember getting like a ton of emails about the events that you were organizing, and they actually looked so sick, but they would always clash with something else that I was doing, which is a shame.
and it happens.
Yeah,
It
it
happens.
happens.
Yeah,
It's life. Hopefully next year, this term, it'll be a lot better and I'll be able to attend some events if social distancing
definitely.
permits. Amazing. I hope that's kind of answered your question and shown you that, like, kind of despite the problems existing, there are kind of solutions and compensations, not to justify the problems, but kind of to show that there is kind of hope and light at the end of the tunnel. And me and Neetu have
Definitely.
both had kind of
Definitely.
amazing experiences despite the fact that diversity is bad. Cool. Next question sent in by Lalu Palu. Not necessarily about diversity, but she asks, what were our GCSE results and what kind of advice would we give to prospective students who are doing their GCSEs this year? So I could start if you like.
Uh,
Cool.
yeah.
So I did really well at GCSE. I got loads and loads of A stars, which was like really good. I guess it doesn't really help when students kind of listen and didn't necessarily get the same GCSEs because a lot of people want to know, okay, I didn't get the standard Oxford GCSEs, can I still get in? And to those students, I want to say it is definitely possible. Although Oxford is very academic and they do look at GCSEs just to make sure that you're able to cope with the workload of the course, they also take a holistic approach and look at all the other factors in the application. Just wanted to say that before I continued. So yeah, I did get all A stars at GCSE. And advice for prospective GCSE students is honestly learn the exam technique. When it comes to GCSE, you're almost being examined 60% on how well you know your exam paper, how well you're able to answer the questions to the standards that your examiners want, and 40% on the actual knowledge itself. So for my sciences, I actually ended up getting 100% in many of them, and that is down to just consistent exam preparation, taking mark schemes, printing them off, analyzing them, memorizing them. And I wouldn't say it was because I was, naturally smart or had intelligence or whatever. It was honestly down to working hard and just practicing the right things. And to any scientists, I recommend this website called Exam Pro. Ask your teacher for access to it. And kind of that's my main tip. Neetu, how about you?
I would say, I mean, I don't have that level of advice. That was very good. But I think the one thing I would say is, so my GCSE results, I got 8 A stars and 3 A's. The A's were in maths and 2 sciences. So I study English, so obviously you can see that those are my weaker subjects at GCSE. Then I moved on to A level and I got 3 A stars. So one thing I would say is, yes, it's important to get good GCSEs. Yes, it's important to just try your best.
Mm.
And I think the advice Fran has given is really useful. Trying those methods will help you to get to where you need to be. But the other thing I would say is that there is an entire AS level that you need to do. Obviously, there's not official exams, but learning the content well for your year 13 exams is important. There's the entirety of year 13. You need to get those A levels. After that, you need to do an interview, you need to do personal statements. There's so many more facets to look at. So it might feel like right now is the be all and end all. If your GCSEs aren't your stellar all nines or all eights or whatever, but there's a lot more other steps, and having that kind of, I think one thing that Oxbridge in general look at is academic rigor, and looking at kind of academic interest. So doing super curriculars, yeah, you might have gotten a few sevens or I don't know, a six, I don't know. But if you had also organized X event, or were interested in reading X, or you did a research project with Y, whatever it is, those would be really compelling things to talk about later on in the application process.
Amazing. I've never heard the term academic rigor before, but I'm going to start saying it. It just sounds so like, do you know what? It has something about it, like a ring to it. Academic. I love that. That's my English student coined as a vocab. I love that. And yeah, your advice was absolutely amazing. I hope we've answered your question. And also to current students who are going to year 12, so who've just received GCSE results, was it yesterday, day before? If your results weren't what you wanted and you don't really want to resit because you're going to start your A levels, just know that universities understand that these results might not 100% reflect your abilities because, number one, you didn't sit them for starters, and number two, kind of allocating grades, that the whole process was just a mess. It was unclear. So honestly, as Neetu said, just try your best when it comes to year 12, year 13. They look at institutions such as Oxbridge, look at your academic rigor, they look at the whole story. So yeah, do not be kind of discouraged to apply if you didn't get the stereotypical Oxbridge grades for GCSE. Cool. Right. Next question. This is a juicy one. Sent in by James. And he asks, have you ever felt any pressure at Oxford as an ethnic minority? If so, did this pressure stem from other students or from ourselves?
That's a good question. Very good question.
This could have a staring competition.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, what do they mean by as an ethnic minority? In the sense that there are other ethnic minorities and we've got to be better than them, like,
I think
or in the sense that,
for me it was more so a pressure that came from representing all the other kind of
yeah,
black students.
okay, okay. So I mean, okay, so there's a few things. I think the first thing I would say is, um, there's this book called Postcolonial. Okay, English student. Obviously, I'm going to reference a book. There's this book called Postcolonial Banter by this Cambridge graduate called Sahima Manzoor Khan, and she basically wrote a poem about representation. And I'm going to quickly find it
Is it called
because it's a
post-colonial
very
banter?
yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to put it on screen just for
She,
reference. If it comes up.
yeah, it's got a pink cover and it's got like a cool collage on it.
Cool. Just going to type it in the comment section. Colonial.
So basically, she talks about representation, and she says that, oh, I need to find it. I need to find it. I'll be so upset if I don't. This always happens in tutorials. Fran, you wouldn't know because obviously, like, it's so different from medicine. But in English tutorials, there's this awkward moment where you're trying to find the quote and you're like, oh, I think I remember. And then you don't remember. It's just so awkward.
That's so crazy.
So there's a poem where she talks about representation. She said something like, you can be a representative but not be represented.
Wow, I
So
like that.
Fran's like, what is that?
No, no, no. It just took me a second. It took me a second, but I've understood. I like that.
Yeah, so a lot of the time we're kind of held as these kind of faces of diversity, faces of progress, faces of social mobility, of the fact that Oxbridge is woke. Like, we can be those representatives of that change, but we're not truly represented because we're being tokenized in some way. We're being used as like, oh yeah, this is your brown face, this is your black student, bam, done. Like, that's not how it works. I would say in some ways, as an ethnic minority, there is a certain pressure to I think to give back to others, to give back to the community that you came from, to the family, the roots, the countries, the stories, all of that, to give back to all of that. I think in other ways as well, it's a bit sad, but I think in some ways having a select amount, because in some ways the system views two brown women as, this is one brown woman, this is one brown woman, both for low socioeconomic, like for them it looks the same. So sometimes I think there can be this awareness that your counterparts, who are your brown and black sisters, who are doing really, really well. And in some ways, it can make you feel like, I need to push harder. I need to push harder. Like, if they're doing so well, despite the fact that we have had the same circumstances, why am I not doing so well? I think in some ways I have experienced it, not in a like beefy way or anything like that, not in a like in a horrible way, just in the sense that you're very aware of what people like you are capable of and whether you're living up to that. So I think in some ways that can push you a little bit more as well. But yeah, I do think there is a pressure, but at the same time, I think it can be a pressure that you put on yourself. I think now that I'm going into third year, I'm very aware that the only person I really need to be listening to is myself. Like, I don't need to be listening to any external voices, any external pressures, because once you give light to them, it makes your life hell. And I think that happened a lot for me in second year. So I would definitely say that it is hard, but spending time with people who really, really appreciate that you're trying is the best way to do it, rather than saying, oh, but like you should be doing this and you should be doing that. That's not necessarily the way to go.
Mm, mm. Honestly, word. You said that so beautifully, and you kind of highlighted something that I didn't realize existed until you mentioned it. That whole kind of pressure between people from like similar backgrounds. And I was just looking back at my
Yeah,
first year experience, and I realized that because there were so few of us, essentially, I don't know, although I was in a cohort of 100 plus other medics, the only almost competition or kind of level that actually mattered to me was the level of the other kind of black female medics in my year. And thank God that that didn't become toxic. But I realized that it mattered to me
yeah,
because I almost didn't want to feel left behind, because there were just so few of us to
yeah,
start off with,
yeah,
and I didn't want to
yeah.
stick out more than I already did. And I guess the main source of pressure stemmed from the fact that I thought that I represented, that it was my duty to hold kind of the entire black student race on my back, which is completely irrational when I look back on it. But I guess as being I was one of 4 or 5 black people in my college of over 600 people. So for me, when I was going to tutorials, for me, when I was speaking to staff members in college, I was almost actually one of the first black people that they'd spoken to in a while. Like, they just didn't interact with them.
Wow.
So for me, I was just like, okay, right, I need to behave in a certain way. I need to act in a certain way. I need to meet standards so that they get a good impression almost, which is actually wrong,
Mm,
because they're like, we're different.
mm,
Like, no two black people are the same. No two South Asian people are the same. We're different. We have our own personalities, and none of us should ever feel like we need to kind of almost represent or maintain standards, uphold standards for an entire race. It's just absolutely
mm,
ridiculous. And considering I was like a first year student, but that's definitely changing and shifting as I kind of progress into second year. And I realized that, kind of, as Neetu said, the only kind of voices that I should listen to is myself. And the only kind of person I should take care of firstly and foremost before I kind of take care of other people is
good,
myself and my own progress. So yeah,
good.
that was kind of my
Yes,
first
yes.
year
I
experience.
love it.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would say, another thing that I would say just quickly is that,
Yeah.
like, I remember my first ever class. I was so everyone else on my course is white. Um, and I remember being like the only person of color on the course, and I remember there were these. I just remember they were using words in our first class. It was about linguistics, which is already quite a difficult and like niche thing to talk about at the age of what, 18, 19.
Mm.
And so I just rocked up to the class and I was so scared. Like I was just so embarrassed. And everyone had something to, it felt like at least everyone had something to say except for me. And I was like, mad, what must they think of us brown people, that we're like
Mm.
some like uncivilized, like we don't know English,
Mm.
and English is the whitest, like it's English, right? It's like the whitest subject you can do. Like you're literally learning about the language, about what it means to write an English text. It's about literacy, it's about cultural capital, about all these funky, like complicated themes, and it kind of, philosophy comes into it, history comes into, everything comes into it. So I just remember in that first class thinking, mad, this is going to be a roller coaster, this Oxford journey, because I already feel like I'm being judged, and I know that for them it would probably, they probably didn't even give a shit, but sorry, I shouldn't swear. um but I knew that I myself was already judging myself in my first class. So one thing I would say to students who are starting university in general is just be kind to yourself. Do the work, but
Period.
also be kind to
Be
yourself,
kind to
because
yourself.
because no one's going to be as worked up about your flaws as you are.
Mm. So true. You are your almost biggest critic. Definitely experienced that in first
Yeah,
year. Amazing. And
definitely.
that was some amazing advice. Thanks, Neetu. Next question, sent
You're
in
welcome.
by private account, asks, how do I convince my ethnic parents to let me do a non-traditional course? I think by this they mean kind of like medicine. Wow, I actually picked the most ethnic course ever. Medicine, law,
Medicine, law,
economics.
engineering,
Yeah.
math.
Oh yeah, maths. I forgot about that one. I guess you're the perfect person to actually ask that question and answer the question. Yeah,
You're like, you have failed your parents. You are the perfect person to give them hope.
not at all. Do you know what? I actually admire when I see ethnic minorities doing such amazing courses, such as classics or even English or like really interesting courses. I'm like, I admire you, because I know the pressure that exists in communities to go down the traditional route. And I almost feel like a wuss. But anyways, I'll explore that when it gets to my turn. But yeah, need to go for it. What was your experience?
So I'm going to be honest with you guys. My parents weren't worked up about me doing a particular degree at
Mm,
uni. I would say I'm quite privileged in that. I mean, it shouldn't be a privilege, but it is. I was quite privileged in the sense that my parents, yeah, they wanted me to do well at school. They wanted me to work hard. You're right, Frank.
yeah,
They wanted me to work hard. They wanted me to do well. They wanted, to me to be a top student, blah, blah, blah. But like, there was never the pressure to do a particular thing because they knew that, I mean, they had accepted that there were certain things I was good at and there were certain things I just wasn't good at. If I was a doctor, I'd probably kill them by accident. Like, let's be honest. Like, I couldn't do chemistry. I couldn't do physics. I didn't understand anything about human anatomy. Like, maths, I can't count. My friends know I can't count. So they knew that there were certain things I was good at and certain things I wasn't. So I think they'd kind of accepted that she can't go down the traditional route. The one thing I would say though is have another adult enter the conversation, because I feel like ethnic minority parents sometimes don't treat us like young adults.
word, 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 word,
Um,
word.
so having a teacher that you
Mm,
trust, a teacher that understands you, and or a mentor, some sort of figure to enter that conversation. Maybe it could be an older sibling, maybe it could be an aunt or an uncle that you trust, an older cousin that they respect, something like that. I think teacher would be the best because it's a more objective role, but objective perspective. Having a teacher that trusts in your ability to do that subject at somewhere like Oxbridge, at somewhere like a Russell Group, at university in general, that would be a useful thing.
mm,
Another thing that I would also say is convincing your parents that that degree has job prospects is super
yeah,
important, because remember, for a lot of us, our parents came to this country so that we could survive, right? So that we could have a good life, and then for us to go and pay 9K to do some jobless degree, aka mine, it is something that would worry them. So convincing them that no, actually there's a
no jobs.
prospect to go into the corporate world, there's a
Mm,
prospect to go into teaching, I can actually do charity work, I can do XYZ.
mm,
Letting them know it might not be what you end up doing in the future, and obviously they don't need to know that, like, it doesn't matter, but that that kind of persuasion, having that argumentation ready for when those conversations happen would be really, really useful.
mm, mm. So well said. And yeah, you touched upon the important fact about the job prospects at the end. Often for ethnic parents, that is their biggest fear, that their children will essentially
Yeah,
go through what they went through in struggling to find jobs, struggling to make ends meet. So often they want their children to go down traditional routes because they're more likely to end up in jobs. For example, medicine, engineering, you're more likely to secure a job at the end because they're such vocational courses. But yeah, that's so amazing. And I guess I was in a similar circumstance in the sense that my parents didn't really mind what I wanted to do. I went through a series of mind changes. I actually started off wanting to become an author, so I would have went down the English route as well. Uh, then I wanted to do politics. Then I realized what politics actually was. Then I wanted to do chemistry actually before I wanted to do medicine. And my parents, like, all along the way, they were supportive, because I think what they realized was that, especially after GCSE results, when they saw that I did really, really well, they realized that I was a very proactive person, and that
yeah,
regardless of the
yeah,
situation, I would always end up trying to do my best and trying to make that work for me. And I think that's really, really important for you to
yeah,
kind of show your parents that, okay, regardless if I do a degree, say, such as English, which may have harder job prospects at the end, I'm still willing to work my hardest to make sure that, I get what I want. And yeah, so I guess when I told them that I wanted to do medicine in the end, I bet I bet in their heart they were just like, finally she came to the right decision. But yes, but they were supportive all along the way, which was really, really nice. But yeah, as Neetu said, if you're not kind of in the same scenario and your parents want you to go down the traditional route, maybe introduce an adult, someone that they're more likely to hold their opinion more valuable. And yeah, hopefully it works out for you. But at the end of the day, it's important to know that you're the one who's going to be doing that course. You're the one who's going to be submitting those essays late at night, paying the £9,250 back when student finance come knocking at your door. So just know that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you might have to tell your parents I'm applying for medicine and actually apply to the course you want to do. Just disappear to university. No, honestly, I don't reckon.
I know someone who's done that.
Really?
They lied about their course.
When their parents go to their graduation, they're going to be so confused. But the thing is, they're going to be happy because they graduated,
So
right?
cute. They could be like, "Oh my god, my son graduated in
Doctor!
medicine," and everyone's gonna be looking at them like, "Oh
That is
god,
so,
the
I
things
love
we
that,
have
man.
to do."
Honestly, honestly. But yeah, hopefully that's helped. And feel free to kind of DM me, Neetu. I'll put our handles, Instagram handles down below, if you have any questions or need any help after that. Coolio. Right. Okay. Next question. Sent in by Lalu Palu. I guess we can like quickly answer this one. It's about GCSEs. How many hours do you suggest revising for GCSEs in order to get all nines, or in order to get like really good GCSE grades? Neetu, what was your approach to study?
I don't think obviously my GCSEs were different because I didn't have that system. We didn't have the numbered system, we had the lettered system. So, and again, GCSEs were a little bit easier when I did them, to be quite honest with you. But the thing I would say is I don't think it's as fixed as that. It's more so what are you good at? What do you need to put the hours in for, and what do you need to put less hours in for? English, obviously, I didn't need to put that many hours in for. Maths, I did Saturday school revision, Friday evening revision. It was terrible. I had to put in a lot of hours. So I would say it depends on what you're good at. It depends on what you want to achieve. I think for me, I started work for maths from January because I was really, really bad, really, really bad at maths, like really bad. Whereas for English, I would say I probably put in, I don't know, three at two. Like I would do. One thing I would say though is do all your homework because they can end up being really, really good revision resources, and that's what ended up with me. Like especially for the more essay-based subjects like Spanish, like maths, like Spanish, English, history. I ended up using a lot of essay plans to revise off of. But yeah, I would say for maths, I put in like, I don't know, 5 hours a week. Like I put in ridiculous amounts because I was going to fail it if I did. Like I would have done really badly if I didn't. Um, Whereas for English, I didn't have to. So I would say first you need to discuss with your teacher, A, what you want to get, B, where you're at, see how far you need to go to get to where you want to be. And then D, you can start up a kind of plan with them and after school exercises that you can do and homework that you can, extra homework that you can do over the weekend that you can then turn into revision resources to then memorize. I wouldn't be able to give you a fixed kind of hours or anything like that. Fran, maybe you'll be better at answering that than I have done.
I
But
think
yeah,
when I was doing my GCSEs, I didn't know what worked for me in terms of the number of hours of revision. But one thing to say is that sometimes it's easy to fall into this trap of thinking kind of the more we revise, the better, kind of like this quality over quantity kind of argument. And first year has definitely taught me, it's humbled me, first of all. And second of all, it's taught me that quantity does not always equate quality of your revision. So in first, second
100%,
term, I was
100%.
kind of, especially over the holidays when we were revising for the exams, I would go to the library, bang out a 9 to 5, and then come home smiling because I thought, okay, I've just done, how many hours is that? 8. I've just done 8 hours of study. I've just done 8 whole hours of study. I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna get first class. But it was not the case because the way I was learning meant that it was just not the class. The way I was learning was just so ineffective, first of all, inefficient as
Yeah,
well. I could have made better use of my time. So definitely it's better to focus on finding techniques that not only save you time but are also more effective, instead of kind of focusing on the number of hours. For a lot of students, what works
yeah,
is active recall. There are so many studies
yeah,
that show that this is the best way of revising, especially for subjects that demand facts. So history is probably one of them, with all those dates you guys have to
yeah,
remember. Sciences as well,
yeah,
less so for your humanities because, I guess it's, I don't know, less fact based. But try and find
yeah, yeah,
techniques that work for you and that, for me, what I would know when I would know a technique worked for me when I'd leave my revision session feeling like my brain was overheating. You know when you overuse your phone
yeah,
and you feel the heat from it?
yeah,
Yeah, sometimes I
yeah,
overuse my brain and I'd feel the heat from it. I'd sometimes see steam. I'm joking. I'm joking. But that's how I
yeah,
knew my brain was actually working because it's so easy to go through hours of just highlighting, hours of just writing notes, feeling like you've learned stuff. It's not the case. But the number of hours I spent revising for GCSEs, probably during term time, non-exam time, 3 to 4 hours every single day, average. Some days less, some days more. Leading up to the exam period, maybe amped it up by an hour or two. So 4, 5, 6. I don't know. I actually can't remember. But yeah, quality over quantity?
One thing as well I would say is the question I think maybe that should have been asked is how do we revise as opposed to how much do you
Mm,
revise? Because I just think you can, as you said, Fran, like you can, like I could have, say I revised 10 hours for maths. 8 hours of that could have been a waste of time, and it could
mm,
have just been 2 hours of my teacher explaining the concept, and I probably would have understood it. So yeah, I think it's a lot about kind of, yeah, active recall, like really, really gymming your brain, making your brain work for it,
mm.
and also like just getting teachers or people who are smarter than you at that particular subject or topic to explain stuff. It really helps.
For sure, for sure. And I guess it actually demands a lot of kind of almost humility because for kind of not for me because I've always just kind of been this outgoing clown person. Like I'm never ashamed. I'm never ashamed. I'd always be that person who would never be ashamed to go and ask a teacher a question regardless of how stupid it was. Whereas I kind of had friends who were more not prideful but felt like if they asked the question they'd appear stupid, like they haven't done their work. But
Yeah,
one thing I can say is
yeah,
if you don't ask, you will not get. Sometimes all it takes is a matter of just going to that teacher, emailing your tutor and asking them the question, and it will save you hours and hours of scouring over the internet or just reaching out to a person in
you're
the
right.
class who you know will understand the question. It might give them an ego
Yeah.
boost, but at the end of the day, like you've learned that concept and it saved you time.
Yeah, also like whose ego is going to be great when you get your A or whatever it is that you want to get. So it's fine. Like just do what you need to do to
Period.
get where you need to be.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, perfect. So, next question sent in by James San asks: would you say that ethnic minorities tend to form their own cliques, or are they more inclusive of other ethnicities? This is giving me Mean
Okay,
Girls
firstly,
vibes.
I think the question is like why do they why okay, why does that happen? Or why would you assume
For
that?
sure, for sure.
Um so people just people naturally hang out with people that they feel comfortable with, that they identify with, that they get along with.
Mm,
And it's unlikely that I'll get along with someone who's had a completely different life experience to me and or has completely different interests to me. It did end up that my social group in college were majority ethnic minorities, majority Asian. Um, and I was close with all the ethnic minorities in Pembroke. Like it was most that it was true that a lot of the kind of British ethnic minorities as well. I was close with them, and I think it's normal to just hang out with people that you identify with. So I wouldn't say the word is clique. I think the word is just like support system. Like it's a good, empowering support system. My closest friend at uni is she's an Asian girl. She's a hijabi. She's grew up in a council estate like me, and yeah, and that's just how it's ended up being. Like I really, really identify with her and vice versa, and we empower each other and understand each other. Like you can't rant to a private school student or a very, very wealthy student about your struggles because it'll just come across in a wrong way. Do you know what I mean? Like
mm,
either it'll make them uncomfortable or you uncomfortable.
mm.
So yeah, I don't think the word's clique. I think the word is just support system.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, so true. It's so important to have kind of support systems, and exactly as Neetu said, they tend to be people who you share a lot in common with, and especially in a place like Oxford where the minority are really, really the minority. Support systems are
Yes.
more important than ever, in order to kind of overcome things like imposter syndrome, also for mental health as well, because in a place which is so academically demanding, it's so important you have people around you who understand what you're going through, can support you in the ways that you need to. And sometimes you just don't have energy to be explaining everything and anything to people who didn't come from similar backgrounds. I find that
Yeah.
when I meet someone who's came from a similar background, has either, same ethnicity, same faith, same kind of socioeconomical group,
Yeah.
I don't have to jump through those hurdles. It's just a thing of like we instantly understand each other and we don't have to explain it, and that saves me so much
Yeah.
energy. So for me,
And you
well,
click.
naturally, exactly, that's the word, you do click. And to kind of answer the second question James sent in about how whether they are inclusive of other ethnicities, I found that in my time at Oxford, regardless of the ethnicities, everyone seemed to be so friendly. I don't know, it was kind of weird. Like Freshers Week,
Yeah.
people were just talking to random people in the JCR, which is the junior common room, which is almost kind of the massive living room space of the college, people just speak to people,
Yeah.
like regardless of whether you look the same, had the same
Yeah.
eye color, hair color.
Yeah.
Everyone was so nice, and I think the collegiate system at Oxford facilitates for that. So unlike other
Yeah.
universities, for people who don't know about Oxford and Cambridge, at Oxford and Cambridge we have mini almost campuses and universities within it. So we have 39 at the moment, I think, or 40. I don't really know. I'm not really counting.
I think the 40th is in construction.
Oh, it's in. Okay, we're about to hit the 40 mark of colleges. I go to Brasenose. Neetu goes to Pembroke, and it's almost like our mini family, and it makes it so much easier to make
Mhm.
friends with other people from different courses, different walks of life. And yeah, I definitely found that the collegiate system made it easier for me to make other friends. And everyone's just really friendly. Brasenose actually had the title of the friendliest college in Oxford. But to be fair,
That's so
why?
cute.
Okay, I thought Nita was gonna argue with me. Then I was gonna be like, "What? What?"
Nah, I ain't defending Pembroke. Pembroke is not. Yeah,
Wow,
I'm just not gonna
that
say.
deep, that deep. But yeah, I don't know if Nita, you have anything else to add regarding his question.
I think yeah. The one thing I would say is like if you're talking about because there might be I don't know maybe you're saying the white majority and then different ethnic minorities, or are you saying that different ethnic minorities within each other? So for example, ACS,
Mm.
I would say that I really benefit from ACS events and ACS uh just like ACS the ACS community. I would say that in first year like it was a space where I felt really happy. Like it was a space that I felt like it was home. Like I'm from a part of East London that's I was gonna say my exact borough, and I was like, should I say it? Um,
Oh,
I'm a
Nita.
part. I think I said it
Yeah,
anyway.
you
It
already
is what
said
it is. Um,
it.
so I'm a part of East London, in a borough called Hackney, and I grew up in a really diverse place where there was a lot of Afro Caribbean heritage, and so yeah, it was just something that I was quite. It just felt quite normal to me to have an Afro Caribbean majority, um, and or Asian majority or ethnic minority majority in general. So yeah, I would say in terms of like entering different ethnic spaces, yeah, it's been really welcoming. Same with religious spaces. I'm Sikh. I went to a iftar that I, the Islamic Society organized, and I loved it. It was amazing. I'm yet to go to Christian events at Oxford, and I was actually meant to be going to church in second year. I didn't because I just couldn't wake up on those Sundays, man. But yeah, I think we really do. The one thing we know at Oxford is what it feels like to feel a bit nervous or a bit left out or a bit of an alien,
Mm.
and that could be from whichever background you're from, despite race, despite class, despite going to the Eton or whatever it is. There will be a little bit, just a
Mm.
little bit of oh, do I fit in? Do people
Mm.
like me? Everyone feels it, right? We're young people, like it's a normal thing to feel at uni. So yeah, I would say that everyone makes quite a very conscious effort to make other people belong. So in between ethnic minority groups, yeah, and in terms of like the white majority and ethnic minority groups, I definitely have some really special friendships with people who are not ethnic minority, with white students who are lovely people. Like we have to always remember that as well. Like it's not while they have privileges that we don't, and we might have some qualities and privileges that they don't. Um, we tend to have that sense of community as much as we can.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. And it just kind of reminds me about kind of my medic community at Brasenose. So, because of the collegiate system, we have almost small mini groups of medics scattered across the whole university. So, at Brasenose first year, there's 7 of us, and we form our own little clique almost, our own little support system, which is really nice because, of course, we're doing the same course, we're going to the same tutorials, we have the exact same deadlines. Our group chat goes wild. Like, tell me why. Like, I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'll have like 40 plus messages on the Facebook group chat. I don't know.
It's
Um,
so cute.
but like all of them are like white, and I'm kind of the only ethnic minority, only black person in the group. At first, that was quite kind of hard to deal with, and kind of because obviously you instantly feel like you stick out like a sore thumb. However, as time progressed, and I actually developed the friendships with them and realized that they're really nice people and made connections with them. Like, I actually love my group of medics. We speak over the holidays, and I can't wait to go back and see them. And it just goes to show that, kind of regardless of the differences, there's such an important sense of community at university. And I think Oxford is pretty good at stuff like that. And as Neetu said, like, it's so easy to almost go into different spaces, whether you're kind of white British or from a different ethnic group. I went to an ISOC Islamic Society event. I think I saw you there, Neetu. The one where they were just giving it. Do you remember? Oh, she's frozen. Neetu. It's just
I
frozen.
can hear you.
You just froze, and you
I can
froze in
hear
such
you.
a funny way.
Oh, sorry.
Carry on, carry on.
Um, should I keep speaking?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Am I still frozen?
No. You're normal now.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like across the screen.
You're literally frozen like.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was so sweet. Oh God. Oh, that's so embarrassing. No, yeah, I remember that ISOC event. It was really, really nice. It was really nice to see people and to also know that there were other people who are not from the Muslim community to be there as well. Like it was nice to be like, oh man, like this is a community. Like we are all people. Like wholesome. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was definitely wholesome. So cool. Honestly, this is something we could talk about forever. But I guess we should try to answer all the questions sent in. Next one sent in by Clinton, and this is an important one, which I don't think is spoken about enough. Is Oxbridge for everyone? Are there people with personality traits that won't suit the environment? I think this is a really key one.
I think the only thing that all Oxbridge people have in common is that they're, for the most part, is that they're passionate about the subject they do. That is it. That's the only quality you need. If you're passionate enough about the subject you do, you'll either be really smart because of it, or you become smart because of it. Like that smart intelligence element, like that will come at some point. So yeah, I would say the only quality that they all have is the passion element. There might be some people who have no passion and just have privilege. That can be the case. That can be the case. But for the most part, it's the passion.
I like that. I really like that. When I read this question, first thing that came to my mind was more about the tutorial system, so the actual way of learning. So something that I was told in like this access event that I went to, which helped me prepare for my interviews, is that although when you apply to these institutions, it's such a daunting process. You go through so many kind of hoops. You go to interviews, although it may feel as though you're applying to those universities and they're kind of interviewing you to see which students are best suited for our university. It's also a chance for you to interview the university, especially for courses such as medicine, where you have interviews everywhere, to see if that kind of style of learning is best suited to you. And I really respect the way that they do the interviews, because they almost mimic what the tutorial system is like. I mean, my interviews,
Yeah.
my tutorials have been exactly like the interview, no cap, with the exact same tutors.
Same.
Just the exact same pressure, the nerves.
Yeah.
And it's so important to realize that you're also interviewing Oxford to see if that would suit you, because although it does have its prestige, its name, it comes with so many amazing opportunities. It's also a case that not everyone will enjoy themselves at Oxford. I've heard stories of people actually rejecting Oxford, which is so brave, and I respect and admire so much. And yeah, I mean, if you kind of go to the interview and you absolutely hated it, not because you were being interviewed, but because you didn't enjoy the element of having that conversation, having like academic conversation about the subject, which is something that happens quite a lot in the tutorials, then perhaps, Oxford is not for you. For medicine in particular, I can talk about the nuances and differences between different types of university courses. At other courses, you have more clinical exposure. There's more clinical placements early on, which is something that people want to do. Whereas at Oxford, we have a strict kind of preclinical clinical split. So we don't actually get to see patients properly until our 4th year onwards. So if that's something that you don't like about the course, then maybe consider applying elsewhere. I think it's really nice with medicine, at least, that regardless of where you apply, you still come out with a medical degree which is endorsed by the General Medical Council. Obviously, it might not be the same for other courses, but that's definitely something that stuck with me, that, although it does have its prestige, maybe Oxford isn't for everyone because of how different the academic side of things are. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Neetu.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for English again, as with any other university, the courses are different. At Oxford, one of the things we're known for, lol, I've got the book here because I've been doing Middle English today.
Serious subject.
Is
Serious
we do
student,
really
sorry.
old we do really old literature stuff that looks like this. You must be thinking what's going on in that picture. Like, so we do a lot of Old English and Middle English in the first, second, and third year, in the first and second year of our degree. So we do English from its very conception until today.
Okay.
So that's something that a lot of unis don't do. And so for some of us, that's like, what the hell? Because if you look at what Old English looks like, and Fran is actually quite funny. I could read it out to you and you'll just be like, what is she saying? It's literally like a
Do I
different language.
want to hear it?
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah. I do.
What?
I joke.
Oh my god! So this isn't Old English. This is Middle English. So this is from like the 1400s. Old English would have been before that, like way before that.
Okay.
Look at Fran's face. This is hilarious.
Go on, Neetu.
I don't even want to read it because it just sounds embarrassing, to be quite honest. But I'll show you the text instead because that's the scary part.
No, read it.
Like, you can't recognize the word.
Still read it. This is giving me Shakespeare vibes, please.
Okay, fine.
Please. This is priceless.
So so I'm gonna read it in like normal English, how you would read it today. Then I'll read it like phonetically, so like how it's spelled. So if I were to read it normally, it would say, "Oh blind world, oh blind intention," right? But if I say it how it's actually spelled, it's "Oh blinde world, oh blinde intention."
It gives me like Latin. It gives me Latin vibes, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very like
Interessante.
It's very Germanic, so it's like very. I can't talk about this right now.
That's the first time I've ever heard of something like that. Old English.
Yeah, so
Middle English.
So Old English was the earliest form of what we speak now, which is like standardized standard English. But Old English is the earliest form. So if you look at the earliest books that were in Britain at the time, they were written in that language.
Nice.
So it's a very weird version of English. Some people say it's a bit like Latin, it's a bit like Dutch, it's a bit German. It's got a bit of everything in it. It's basically just hard.
It sounds hard.
If you don't go to Oxford, if you don't go to Oxford, you probably won't have to do that because a lot of other unis don't make you do it. It's not a compulsory paper. But I'm not gonna lie, I would say in first year I hated it, but towards the end I was like, this is kind of weird and interesting to think that language has evolved so much over time. Like, you think of things like slang, right? Like, they had slang back then, but they had their own versions.
Crazy. That's actually
like it's quite interesting.
That's so crazy. That's so. Is that like more on the linguistic side of things? I could never kind of differentiate between languages and linguistics.
So literature is essentially novels, plays, and poems.
Okay.
That's what literature is. Linguistics, so the language part of the English language and literature degree, is more so to do with looking at a speech or looking at a newspaper and thinking, okay, so they described Michelle Obama as being too loud in this newspaper headline. But when they described Hillary Clinton, they said that she was really confident. Why are they saying that about Michelle Obama? What are the linguistic suggestions behind what are the suggestions behind this use of language? Is it because of power? Is it because of language and race? Is it because of language and class or language and gender? So I would say the language element of the Oxford English degree is so good. Like, I really enjoyed it in first year.
Nice.
Really enjoyed it.
Love that, and we've all learned something new today about. I mean, I never knew that there was something called Old English and New English, and I never knew the definition, like what linguistics was before this. So we learn something new every single day. Amazing. And we've almost hit the 1 hour mark. So Neetu, how many questions should we attempt to go through? Because there's a couple more that have been sent in. I don't think we'll be able to get through all of them in like the next few minutes.
Should we try? How many are there?
Okay. Sorry, I'm really slow at counting. 1,
okay.
2.
I can relate.
3, 4, 5. Okay, there's about 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 8, 9, 8 or 9. Should we try and get through like?
Okay, so
cool. Okay, cool. Because we don't want to keep people here for too long. But before kind of we continue, just like to say that me and Neetu will try our best to kind of answer any questions that get sent to us via DM. Just know that we're really busy, and I'm preparing for exams. I think, Neetu, are you prepared for exams when you go back?
preparing for like reading coursework.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we're in a state of
situation.
preparation, so we will try to do our best alongside kind of everything else we do. But yeah, so sorry that we couldn't get through all the questions in during this live stream. But yeah, first question that we're going to try and get through is sent in by Ronald McGalloway. Were you scared of the lack of diversity? And before we answer that, Neetu, is your channel name Neetu Singh? Because someone's saying that they can't find your channel.
So my channel name, yeah, it is Neetu Singh. This, yeah, on YouTube it is, but on Instagram it's got a different name.
Okay.
So it's including my surname, which is Neetu Singh Bands.
Okay. So for people who want to find Neetu's channel, just stick around till the end of this, and in the description bar, I'll just put all the details to her YouTube channel. Definitely check it out, and her Instagram page as well. Yeah. So kind of, were you scared of the lack of diversity before getting here?
Yeah, I definitely was. I think there were a few things I was scared of. One was I going to fit in? B, two, was I going to have a good time? And three, would I change? Like, I was really worried that like at the end of Oxford I'd change. Like I'd not remember my roots, or not remember my community, not remember my culture, and all those kind of things. I was like, will I try and assimilate into this kind of typical Oxbridge person that doesn't look like me? So yeah, I definitely was scared. But I would say that, you know, you're only really scared because you care a lot. So if you care a lot, maybe try and jump and take that kind of, have that confidence in yourself to try and apply and do it.
Amazing. And I guess for me, it was kind of the opposite, because although I preach about researching your universities, researching as much as possible, I didn't research about diversity. So I was kind of stuck in this bubble, because I come from the West Midlands, which isn't as metropolitan as like other cities, but it's definitely very, very diverse. I came from a school where the ethnic minorities were the majority in that area and that school. So I kind of took that bubble and kind of almost put that standard on everything else that I viewed in life. So I thought it would be the exact same everywhere I went, which isn't the case, as I realized when I got to Oxford. So when I actually got to Oxford, that was the first time that I realized the problem of diversities that existed in the institutions. So I didn't really get the chance to be scared. But looking back in retrospect, I can understand why it's really, really easy to feel scared and almost have that pre-imposter syndrome before stepping in. But one thing to say is that, number one, you're not defined by the statistics. You're not defined by the number of Black people there, the number of Asian people there, the number of people from your group. You're your own individual person, and don't ever feel like because you're not represented that there isn't a space for you, because you earn that. If you've got an offer, it means you deserve to be there. It means that the tutors that have interviewed you see potential and see that you deserve to be there. So definitely do not let kind of the statistics feed into almost your value and kind of your worth at being in that institution. So yeah, that's the short answer for you. I didn't know about the lack of diversity. Cool. Should we answer the next question?
Yeah.
Amazing. Someone asked, Neetu, what course are you doing? You're just doing English, right? Or does it have like a fancy
It's called
name?
English Language and Literature.
Okay. I asked that because
English Language and Literature,
for law, they have like they call it like jurisprudence, which means is it the history of law or something like that? It's just so extra. Of course, Oxford had to go the extra mile, man. Next question sent in by AJ Malfoy asks, I'm not even at Oxford yet, but I'll be going in October. Oh, congratulations! If you got an offer to start in October.
That's so sweet.
During interviews and the offer holders day, I subconsciously changed my personality and accent to act white. Have you guys ever felt this? And her second question is also, how many books did you read before entering Oxford? Because I've read none so far. I guess we can tackle both questions. Go for it.
Just to say the books one very quickly.
Yep.
I hardly read anything on my reading list, and I struggled. I cannot emphasize to you enough. Reading a 1,000-page Victorian novel in a week during term when you have to write an essay is impossible. So do the reading. Please read as many primary texts. So the novels, the poetry, the plays. Read as many primary texts as possible before you start. Don't stress out. Just read the text for the beginning of term. So look at the stuff you're doing in first week, second week, third week, fourth week. try and get that all done, and then that will give you a comfortable start into the term.
Cool. And kind of from coming from a medicine perspective, I don't know what course you're studying, but we were set 3 books on our reading list at Brasenose, and that varies between
3.
courses. Is that a little bit? It is, isn't it? It's little, isn't it? Wait, is it a
Oh my
lot?
god, Fran, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna send you my reading lists after this. That's
Don't
crazy.
come embarrass me now. And our books are like what
It's not even
maximum
embarrassing.
250 pages each.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. I know it's not a lot, and I'll accept that it's not a lot. But the one reason why I didn't get through all the books is down to pure laziness. I must admit that. But
Yeah.
one
Same.
thing to say is that because you've got an offer right now and you're guaranteed your place, you should have been assigned college parents at your college that you're going to. If you haven't, probably like reach out to people at the college. But essentially, these college parents are people who are assigned to you. They do the same course as you, and they're there to kind of give you advice and help you settle into life. My college parents told me that I asked them about the reading list and how mandatory it was, and they actually explained to me that it's not mandatory at all. The tutors don't really ask about it,
Yeah.
and they actually didn't. They didn't mention it once when I got to term. So that kind of helped settle nerves and kind of encouraged me to be lazy and not finish my books, which I don't recommend. Try and get through as much work beforehand. Some of the books are really, really interesting and kind of help you get back into the flow of academics, because it's been a massive break since lockdown began. So you don't want to go back to uni and not know how to read a word or hold a pen. Do you know what I mean? And to answer your second question about subconsciously changing your personality, that is something I experienced quite a bit in first year. Let me not lie. When I got to Oxford, I was surrounded by so many people who spoke a certain way that I subconsciously spoke more proper, if that even is a thing. Especially in tutorials, I thought that kind of speaking colloquially, speaking the way, like with my accent, I'd be seen as less competent or less professional in the field of medicine in comparison to my peers, which again is ridiculous, but it's definitely something that people experience. And I saw the stark difference when I left Oxford and went back to my hometown in West Midlands, and everyone would be like, "Why are you so white?" My sister would actually tell me, "Why are you so white? You've forgotten how to be black." My sisters are bullies, first of all, because they knew that would get to me, but they say it anyway. They say it. Yeah, me and Neetu have this discussion about siblings all the time, but it's definitely a reality. Neetu, I don't know how your experiences compare, or did you ever experience the subconscious accent change?
I don't think I'd be able to necessarily say, I wouldn't be able to evaluate that, right? Like people I'm close to might be able to be like, oh mad, like yeah, Neetu's changed. But one thing that I would say is I was very aware, like I was very, very aware of it. And I think at points you do have slight inflections where maybe you say things differently. Yeah, I think that's true, you do. But ultimately I wouldn't say my accent has changed. I think the only reason why is because I just hang out with people that are quite like me. So like I'm talking to people with my kind of Londoner accent anyway. Like I oh, can you hear me?
Oh no, yeah. I'm just reading the comment section. Carry on.
Oh, sorry. I was like, mad, have I frozen again? But yeah, no, so I spend a lot of time with people who actually talk quite like me. In fact, I would say that I've like some of my international friends from first and second year, like they know slang now, like because of me and like my Londoner friends. So
Oh
like,
man.
yeah, I think if you carry yourself with pride and you be confident in the fact that you don't pronounce your T's, you be confident in the fact that yeah, you say words like peak or whatever. Like, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. But if you be confident in it, I think people actually kind of think it's kind of, I don't know, in a sometimes problematic way, but they do think it's kind of interesting or kind of cool to just meet someone who's from a different place in the world.
Amazing. And next question sent in by Ravenclaw is about can't speak today. What is the difference between state schools and private schools? They're not from Britain, so yeah, kind of to elaborate on the education system here. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this. So there, yeah, do you? Are you could you answer this question? Because I don't know about like the technicalities. One's not
What
paying,
exactly are they
one is
asking?
paying. What's the difference between state schools and private schools? Because I know that there's state comps, state
Oh,
grammar,
okay,
and then
okay,
private.
okay, okay. So in the UK, we have different types of schools. We have schools that you pay for and schools that you don't pay for. The ones that you pay for are called private schools. You can have schools of different sizes. You can have a private school that's very small and only has about 30 students per year group. You can have a huge private school like Eton College, Westminster, St. Paul's, which are actually known as public schools because they're really, really big in size. They're more like franchises. Like this like they have this like not a franchise, but they have this
Yeah.
like identity
Yeah.
and this like image and all of that. So that's why I think they're called public schools. You have state schools,
Okay.
the different types of state schools that you have. You can have grammar schools. Grammar schools are selective. So you have to do an exam before you can enter that school. Some you pay for, some you don't pay for. And you can have comprehensive schools, which are like high schools basically. So they are they're more of the disadvantaged. They're basically seen as the kind of bottom tier of the school systems that we have in the UK. And you can have state schools that are called academies. And they are really that they tend to be good schools. It began as a kind of social experiment to see what happens when you take disadvantaged kids into a really, really strict, regimented state school system that kind of mirrors private school values,
Okay.
but for free. So I went to an academy because there was one right near my house. And yeah, so those are the different types.
Amazing. Yeah, thank God you explained that and not me, because I didn't know about like the distinction between private schools and public schools. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And oh,
Okay.
I want to like say a little story time, but then I'm conscious of time. I'll tell you later, Neetu, because this is so jokes about my school. Next question sent in by okay, we've kind of already answered that one about the reading list and how much we got through. Next one sent in by SS asks, how much work do you do as a medic? What time do your lectures start and finish for medicine? So kind of the typical week for medicine is you will have lectures every single day. I must say that. I'll say that straight off the bat, and this is something that Neetu might not be able to relate to because they have less contact hours, which are the number of hours that you have either in lectures, tutorials, and labs. So as a medic, you will have on the higher end of contact hours, you will have about 2 to 3, possibly 4 lectures a week, a day. Sorry, a day. You will have around 2 lab classes a week. These lab classes are really long and extensive. They're like 3 to 4 hours. And then because we have the collegiate system, you will also have tutorials, and this varies between colleges. At mine, I had around 2 to 3 first term, second term 1 to 2, and during lockdown we only had 1 a week. And these will be accompanied by essays that you have to do, pre-work that you have to do, and it may sound like a lot, yes, however you do get used to it. And I'm actually grateful that we had so much on because it forces you to learn how to manage your time very early on, which is a skill that you'll need, especially in a job such as medicine, which has such hustle and bustle. Another thing to say, you'll also have classes such as statistics classes, which are mandatory. Oh, these were the bane of my life, but you have to go to them. And yeah, what time do lectures start and finish? So as a medic, again, a massive distinction, and subjects such as English actually mock medicine for this. We will have 9 a.m.s. Science subjects, you will have 9 a.m.s. Any single day that you have lectures, sorry, they will start at 9 a.m. So my typical day starts at 9 and probably finishes around 12, and I might need to come back later for a lab class. But I actually like it because it gets me out of bed and it means that my day finishes earlier. I don't know about you, need to. What are your contact hours like?
I think one thing that I do wish is I wish I had that structure that you guys have as humanities students. We have 2 to 3 contact hours max a week. Like you can just do a free for the rest of your week. So it is really, really nice, really, really beneficial to have that system in place. For us, like we can get up at 10, we can get up at 11 and like just roll out of bed and then just start a day. And it's not the most productive way to do things. But yeah, we definitely have 9 a.m. lectures. We definitely have lectures early in the morning. I would say most of our lectures aren't compulsory simply because we don't have to learn content in the way that medics do or that STEM students do in general. We have loads of different writers, loads of different genres. It just depends on what you're writing your essays on that week. If you're writing it on the Brontes, why would you go to some random lecture on like Austen? Like, why would you do that? So
For fun.
so yeah, so we don't have as many compulsory. We have a lot of lectures, but it's not necessarily compulsory to go to all of them. I would say the most compulsory ones that we should go to, like max, it would be like 2 to 3 a week, like absolutely compulsory. The rest, like you should definitely go to learn about your subject and beef up your essays.
Amazing. And I know I said that we'd get through like 2 to 3 questions, but I've just realized that there's actually just 3 left, and 2 of them can be answered really quickly, and then we can finish on the more long-winded one. So I guess we can answer one each,
Okay.
the quick ones. First
Yeah.
one, can you go to Unique if you're an international student? I'm not entirely sure actually. When I went to Unique, I think it was only home students who were there, but definitely check out the website. They will have all the guidelines there. I'll try and put it in the description bar below. And next question sent in by H. Khan asks, do college rankings reflect the teaching at a college? I can't remember what the table is called.
Again, it's different.
What's the table? The
Norrington table.
Norrington table, that's the one.
I'm not gonna lie, I think it's a bit irrelevant. I don't think it's deep at all.
Yeah,
I think what is important is that the the college that you pick, the tutors that they have there are the ones that have research interests that you like. That's important, especially for humanities, because then when it goes on to picking particular themes for each week, for each essay, picking particular sections of a movement. So, for example, my tutor at Pembroke, she is a woman of color. She did a lot of she looked at Indians in the Victorian times. She looks at a lot of kind of world literature, and that world literature was really important to me, and I was aware of that when I started Pembroke. So yeah, I would say that research interests are what's most important, especially if you do humanities. In terms of the Norrington table, I don't know. Maybe I'm disillusioned. I don't know, but I don't think it's that important.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I didn't realize it existed until like someone told me in like second term. I didn't apply based on it. Most colleges are pretty good actually, and you tend to have tutorials at different colleges if you're learning about a module that tutor specializes in. Yeah, cool, amazing. Final question, and this one's for both of us. Nagami asked, "I'm going into year 13. How can I do well at A levels at an underperforming sixth form poor quality with poor quality teaching?" Sorry.
Um, just to plug, go to everyone's YouTube channel.
Honestly,
They will have plenty of resources.
honestly,
Ibsmo has incredible resources. Mani has incredible resources. Obviously, Fran has amazing resources. Tolu has amazing resources. Eve Bennett has amazing resources. V Kativu has amazing resources. Rosie has amazing resources. I think her, what's the channel called? Just a Little Room?
I think
Is that what it's
changed it
called?
to Rosie Crayford now.
Okay.
But basically,
Rosie has
everyone in the
amazing
Study
resources.
2 project and a few more people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole study tube project. So like Jack,
Mm.
and all the others, like they all have wicked stuff. Ruby Granger has some really, really good stuff. I would start off with them. There might be some YouTubers you feel you might prefer over others. There might be YouTubers who you feel might relate to your journey a little bit more than others. Use them. They're resources that are there. The other thing that I would say is, if you don't have good teachers in your school, you might have students who can help you. There might be students from the years before. There might be students from other schools who are doing the same subject. Check a website called the Student Room. They are really, really good. They have resources on a lot of things. If you let us know what subjects you do, then we can give you a little bit more tailored advice on the exact resources that you can use to help yourself.
When you said the student room, my heart leaped a little bit because my memories with like associated with the student room are always ones about trauma, aka when you leave an exam and you just
Yeah,
you leave an exam, right?
and you see
You go
that.
in the student room, you look at the unofficial mark schemes, and then you just get all those students from all those schools that are just like, this exam was so easy, like I'm sure I got full marks, or they write their
Yeah,
answer, and then you're like, wait, hold up, why is this not the same thing as I wrote? Like, why is my answer like completely different?
when I did all my sciences and maths GCSEs, I I went on the student room and I counted and recounted the unofficial mark scheme. I put down all the results I think I got. I put down the worst case scenario, and then I put down my predicted. And it was just the most terrifying thing to do just before results day. Oh my god,
It's honestly
terrifying.
such a the guys. I'm so happy that you found like the better side of student room. But honestly, if you're like me and you can't help yourself and you can't help looking at the unofficial mark schemes and the discussions, maybe avoid the student room, but definitely check out the good resources that are there. One thing I can say is that for me, I came from a school which was, yeah, it just wasn't the one in terms of teaching quality, particularly for A levels. And I just started to
Yeah,
formulate this habit, especially after GCSEs, of teaching myself the content because I was quite
yeah,
ambitious. I wanted to get a certain grade, and I realized that if I carried on just going off what my teachers were giving to me, I was only going to get C's, maybe B's, maybe a few A's. And I wanted a
yeah.
lot. best, like I
Yeah.
wanted better grades than that. So I taught myself basically all of my GCSE sciences and all of my A level course, except for maths. I had pretty good teachers in maths, but A level biology, chemistry, I taught myself the whole course. I went to a school where like the longest I ever had a teacher for was maybe a couple of months before they actually went. It's actually quite funny because at the start of year 12 we had this teacher
Wow.
who taught us for like 3 lessons, and then she just went missing one time, and she told us that she dislocated or paralyzed her neck, and then like a couple of weeks later someone saw her in Tesco's or something. So like it was just the ghetto. So like yeah, teachers just didn't stick around. So when you just have that inconsistency, you have to just get used to relying on yourself firstly and foremost, knowing what resources are out there for yourself. Neetu highlighted the online study tube community when it comes to giving advice for specific subjects. Amazing. Knowing what websites work for you, knowing what free opportunities are available to you. I actually compiled a document. If you go to my Instagram, it's in the bio link, of resources that are available to resit students, but it's still available to normal students who aren't resitting. About free mentoring initiatives for prospective medics and other subjects, free tutoring initiatives. Check them out because they're there and they're available to you. Yeah, and yeah, just best of luck. Year 13, year 12 is hard, but I'm sure you'll get through it, especially if you have the right work ethic. Yeah, I think we've answered all the questions. This is incredible. Honestly, this is groundbreaking. We've answered all the questions in
Yay!
the live. We did go over a little bit, but there are still plenty of people watching this. And I guess before we end, I just want to thank, firstly, foremost, Neetu for just, taking, how many minutes is this? 18 minutes out of your day to sit here and to converse with me and answer questions. You're amazing. And people definitely need to go check out your channel right now. Honestly, it's so amazing, especially for prospective,
Thank you.
English students. Check her out. I'll put everything in the description bar below. And second of all, thank you to everyone who stuck around for so long. Thank you for all your amazing questions, the engagement. It's so amazing to see some people return back to the lives every single day. And yeah, Neetu, if you have anything to say before we conclude.
No, just thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fran, for having me. And thank you for doing what you're doing because it's making a huge difference. And thank you to everyone for watching. If you have any questions, just DM me on Instagram. Just message me on a YouTube comment on my channel. I will reply. I tend to reply to nearly everything I can. So just message me. I will answer your questions. The other thing that I will say is best of luck. I know this year hasn't been the one for a lot of students, and I'm really, really sorry about that. And we are sorry that you guys had to go through that. But I think the one thing that we can say to you is that it shows a lot about just what an amazing cohort of students you guys are going to become because of what you guys will have overcome at the end of this year. So best of luck, and thank you so much.
Amazing. Yeah, best of luck to everyone. And I hope you enjoyed this live stream. We're going to love you and leave you and see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Thank you.